Hi, everyone. This is Todd Ballinger, and I have a guest with me today, Ron Joseph, who is a loan officer in Florida. Welcome, Ron.
How you doing? Good to be here with you.
Hey, thanks, man. I set up a call with you because you had sent me an email saying that after watching the little Jing tip video, you had done some videos before, but that you had started using Jing to create a call to action video that you're using to engage financial advisors. Tell us just a little bit about that strategy.
Yeah, not to try to reinvent the wheel that you already created. I just had already been familiar with Jing, although used it more for recreational purposes than help add more money to my business. But I took the information that you kind of put together and made some still shots using Jing to capture those images that you had up there. And I had talked to one of the financial advisors that I work with, has a pretty large database, and said, hey, why don't we try to drum up some mortgage business? I put this together, this video that explains a call to action, and we don't know what rates are going to be like, and just got to give them some good nuggets to chew on, and maybe something that would drive some mortgage business to us. And he was in agreement with it. He liked what he saw. From there, he took it and sent it out, sent the link out to the video in the database, and we got a lot of good responses actually out of it. We were able to actually track if they opened the email up, and we were actually tracked to see if they watched the video. So yeah, it worked out really well. And now that he's led me to some other financial planners, I've called them and sent them a copy of the video and said, hey, I can do this for you too. Here's what we've done. Here's some of the results we've got. Obviously, we would tailor make it towards your clientele and to some things that you wanted to say. But this might be a good way for you to keep in better touch with your clientele.
I love it. So you're making it easy for the advisor. All they have to do is forward out the email that you create together, and I've got a sample that you sent me of one, and I'm going to let folks take a look at that here in a second.
Mortgage rates are still at all-time lows. Hi, everybody. My name is Ron Joseph. I'm with the Chuck Oliver team in the Equity Management Division, and in striving not only to give great service but informative information, we wanted to pass this rate bulletin out to you. The graph you see in front of you is a 47-year average of mortgage rates, and as you can see, back in the 60s, rates were at that 6% range, spiraled up to the 15% range in the 80s, and then through the 90s and 2000s took a roller coaster ride to where they're at now, roughly about 5.25%. And we don't know how long this downward trend is going to last. Why is this important to you? Well, you could be one of those that are paying a much higher rate than the current market, and it could be costing you some serious dollars. Dollars that could be redirected towards your personal pension plan, dollars that could be redirected in starting a personal pension plan, or monies used just to pay off your house sooner rather than later. This is a call to action, and we encourage you to take advantage of it today. Our process and recommendation is quite simple. If you would click on the link that is attached to this email, it will take you to this page, which is our proprietary Borrow Smart analysis software. If you click on the Watch Video tab, it will give you a short tutorial and instructions on how to get started and how to enter your information. And once that information has been entered, it will alert me, and then I can put together a very easy to understand analysis of the road you're on now versus possibly going down a different road. We believe that now is a great time to make a new decision in building wealth for your future. So we encourage you to take advantage of this information. Click on the link, watch the video, and let us get the information into your hands so that you can make a good, informative decision. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Bye-bye.
And why don't you take us through, you said you had an interesting case that you'd just put together recently. How about pulling up a sample case there and show us how you go about taking a client through a presentation?
Yeah, this was a case that we put together for a younger couple. Wasn't carrying a whole lot of debt, but just not utilizing their mortgage or their equity that they had left in their house. And after just kind of asking some of the questions that I learned from you and using the software, I was able to show them that by restructuring their mortgage and consolidating some debt, which, for most people, it's hard to understand that when someone's telling it to you over the phone. But the cool thing about the program and the report that you put together is they can actually visually see, and now they remember, and now you're including them in on that. So once they were able to see what their monthly savings was going to be, and also by creating more of a tax benefit to them, because some of the things we were paying off had no tax benefit, like a car or credit card. Those have no tax benefits. By consolidating everything into the mortgage, and really still leaving a lot of equity left over because they had paid it down. Their market value was still relatively strong in this area. We were able to save them, almost about a little over $600 a month. The screen you're looking at now shows their current liabilities of what they had. Their blended rate was 4.5%, and then obviously explaining the transaction costs that way, and then their monthly cash flow was going to increase by $369. Actually, it's a little bit more than that, because there's some things I did not include on this that made up the difference. When everything's said and done, it was a little over $600 of impacting their cash flow, which now can be redirected towards something more beneficial to them than credit cards and a car. The total savings, here it is right here, the total savings, and his goal, by the way, was to have the house paid off in 15 years. His original question was, what's your 15-year fixed?
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how to go down that road. I chose to present a different case to them and show them by utilizing a refinance and a 30-year fixed and using a side fund that could get them at least 7.5%. They would be able to actually pay their house off, more money in the left pocket than in the right pocket in just about 10 years. So that worked out really well for him. And it took a number of conversations for him to grasp it, but once he saw it and we were talking about it, he grasped it even more.
And you do. I know you're unique in that as a financial advisor, you work with. I mean, as a loan officer, you found a real niche working with financial advisors in the profession, and that can take a little bit more time. But have you found that to be a good niche for you? As a lot of loan officers are a little nervous about doing that, but it sounds like you're very comfortable in that world.
Yeah, because the ones that I'm talking to, and I make my points right up front when I'm talking, how I view the mortgage more of an asset instead of a liability, and how to use it to create more wealth for yourself and structure it, wisely. Anybody can quote a rate, anybody can take an application, but I think it really takes someone who understands how to use the mortgage to their benefit. So once I explain that to the financial planner, they can see the benefit, because now they're going to have more money to work with. And really, if you get in with just a couple financial planners that believe in that concept, and you're all on the same page, they'll be more than happy to share you with other people. Other financial planners, that is. That's
great. And then you learn from that advisor, what products that they tend to work with, like what, like that might be for some a high after-tax savings rate, but you're working with their assumptions, since they're ultimately going to be working with the client on the asset portion, and you're helping the client to accomplish their goals. In this case, their goal was to be debt-free sooner rather than later, and it looks like their current strategy was going to take about 200 months, and you've got them into a situation where they could get that down to around 120 months, which is would be pretty exciting for a lot of consumers, I would think.
Yeah, yep, it sure is. I think the main thing is, when you're talking with these types of people that are having a hard time grasping it, you got to show them what the bigger picture is. The mortgage, the interest rate, the fees are not the bigger picture. Don't get hung up on an interest rate. Don't get hung up on some fees. And if they do, then I think maybe I probably failed in not showing them the bigger picture.
Great. What other key things do you tend to point out in the report that you feel like is helpful in helping them to see that big picture?
I don't print everything off, just because sometimes, and I guess if I back up, it depends on what kind of person I'm talking with. If they're an analytical type or want to see everything laid out, then I'll print everything off. But if I get a feel that they're just they just need a good explanation, a good understanding, I don't try to print everything off for them. I just go through the pages and show them, basically what you're looking at now, proposed liabilities. The question that you always brought up is, what's my cash flow impact at closing? This screen shows that right there, what it's going to be like. I found that the screen that shows the intersection of where they're going to become debt-free explains that really well. So they can actually see in 120 months or 10 years, hey, where these two lines cross, technically you're debt free. So I compare it to where they're at versus where I want to take them.
Well, that's great, because I've had folks say, there's so much here that's available, and part of the art as an advisor is saying these are the things that I'm going to use, and just deciding what's appropriate for that client to see. Essentially that part of the art form here is getting comfortable with the client and looking at what's important to them. If they're focused on cash flow, then 1 or 2 pages may do it. If they're really interested in paying off the debt, as you mentioned, then showing them this kind of an analytics to say, this is your target time frame, this is when we can have you paid off, and here's how it's being paid off. The mortgage is a 30-year. We're not telling you not to pay it off. We're simply providing you a way to be debt-free in as early as 12 years, 2 months, or whatever the situation. Yeah, so I think that's great. That's just learning, and that's advancing, because one of our key messages here is that the lending industry is very much evolving, and just maybe 7 to 8 years behind the financial planning industry, and that what's going to essentially happen over the next couple of years is this model of progressing towards meeting with a client, profiling their needs, creating a plan, presenting that plan, implementing that plan. That's sort of the way the financial planning industry has always done it, or has done it specifically in the last 10 or 12 years. And for the lender who's used to just sitting down with a client and taking a loan application, that those days are over.
Yeah, I know. I think the one thing I forgot to mention, the key thing I forgot to mention with these clients, they called me. They were a referral, and obviously, and called me. Asking more about a 15-year rate than anything else. And that's when I started to lead them down the road to, hey, why don't you consider, instead of paying your house off in 15 years, why don't we consider consolidation? And with this extra money and all this other stuff we got going on, I can show you how using a 30-year fix, you can pay it off in 10.
Yeah, and again, that's giving them the additional liquidity that they might want in case of an emergency. Some people want to be debt-free in 15 years. They're just uncomfortable with that higher payment commitment. And again, it's all about the suitability, looking at the overall situation and working, if you're a loan officer, working with the advisor if there's an advisor involved. If you're not a financial advisor and you're just a loan officer, then you can focus on those liabilities. You can always encourage someone or introduce them to an advisor who can help them look at some of these other safety, liquidity, return type considerations. Any other key pages you show before we wrap this up? I think this has been helpful.
No, I think that kind of covers the nuts and bolts of it.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Ron. We'll share your your video. I think it's a great marketing idea, and again, appreciate all that you do.
Thank you for what you're doing as well, for the impact you're making on us.
Thanks, Ron. Take care, man.